Hello everyone, I'm Babla Jonathan and this is the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. In our top stories in this edition of the news, several towns, villages and of course schools remained closed in the two crisis-stricken Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Today, the ghost went running from one part of the towns and the villages, hindering an effective back to school for the 2019-2020 academic year. Ghost Town was respected in several parts of Anglophone Cameroon, and some of the schools received as few as less than 10 students and pupils on this day one of the 2019-2020 academic year, and administrative authorities have continued threatening to sanction absentee landlords, or better still absentee civil servants in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Those were our top stories. The ghost took over the town of Kumba and other parts of the Meme division and the two Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon on this day one of the 2019-2020 academic year. Ghost Town was respected by the people of the two Anglophone regions as the socio-political and security crisis hitting those two regions, the northwest and the southwest regions, for over 3 years now has continued deepening, and turnout was very low in some of the schools that were operational today in the Meme division. Some of them received as few as less than 7 students and pupils, and the senior division officer of the Meme division, Tundong Chamberlain, has promised to sanction civil servants who were absent today and those who will be absent in the days ahead. Details with Smanjik and Gebre.
It was at the deserted Kumba, chief town of Meme division, that we met in the early hours of September 2, 2019, a day schools were supposed to reopen. Some neighborhoods, just like the main roads, no form of life was seen. Notwithstanding the quietness of Kumba, it was an unkempt government bilingual high school station environment that the SDO for Meme division, Tundong Chamberlain, made his first stopover. At government bilingual high school station, out of 120 teachers expected on campus, just 6 answered present alongside 17 students. After a word with the teachers and students, the senior divisional officer moved to government bilingual primary school Kumba station group 2, where he had an encounter with a handful of the pupils who came out on day one in a bushy environment. The convoy of the SDO then moved through a ghosted Kumba 2 subdivision down to Mabanda in the Kumba 3, where he stopped over at government school Mabanda. 61 kids were present and prepared to learn after staying at home for the past years. The same institution, we were told, is keeping 7 students of government bilingual high school Mabanda who couldn't go to their own institution because of insecurity. At GS Mabanda, parents of pupils were present cleaning the campus invaded by grass. The next stopover of the SDO was at the Cameroon College of Arts and Science Kumba, where no student was present. All 90 teachers were also absent. In their absence, the SDO made a round of the institution. Unfortunately, if schools timidly kicked off in some parts of Kumba, some, however, didn't start, as we met empty campuses in several schools in K-Town. According to the senior divisional officer, the turnout of the pupils and students is expected to increase as the days go ahead. Worthy of note is that most of the pupils and students in school on day one were all dressed in Assorted.
Day one of the 2019-2020 academic year marked by the ghost, or better still Operation Ghost Town in the Meme Division, and the Senior Divisional Officer Antundong Chamberlain has promised to sanction absentee civil servants. Take a listen.
Also register some teachers who are absent, but the remaining one are available. For those who are absent, I say it. I am going to take appropriate measure to punish them. For the parents who continue to keep the children at home, it is time for them to send back those children to school. You know they have lost more than 3 years of their life, and it will not be easy for them. It is now time for us, like fathers, to send back those children to school. Also, those who are hiding in the bushes, let me continue to highlight that it's time also for them to surrender and to come and join the remaining nation of the division. We will start and continue the normal activity. We will try to compare with last year, and we are going to conclude with me that this year's better.
In the Northwest Regional Capital, Bamenda, several schools were still closed, and of course others received some few students. And this is day one of the 2019-2020 academic year, and our reporter in the town of Bamenda, Stella, visited some schools and compiled this report. Stella with that report from the northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. She went visiting some schools to take stock of the situation as far as back to school is concerned, and she reports that many schools remained closed and others were functioning far below capacity, as just few students and pupils were present on campus today. Stella reports from Bamenda.
Atmosphere that characterized the early hours of this Monday, September 2nd in Bamenda, headquarters of the Northwest region. As early as 8 a.m., fierce exchanges were recorded at Old Town and other neighborhoods within the city. Security had been stepped up ahead of today, and the soldiers on ground pushed back the attackers, believed to be the separatist fighters, who have been advocating for no schools in the entire Northwest and Southwest regions. Despite the panic this caused, some pupils and students braved the empty streets as a result of the usual Monday Ghost Town to mark their presence at school on day one of the school calendar. For fear of what may happen, this school administrator agreed to speak on condition of anonymity.
50 pupils came to school this morning, 35 boys and 15 girls, and I had 7 teachers in attendance, all female. No male came, and then the children had classes in the morning up to 12. The children have done mathematics, English, and environmental education this morning.
In other schools, like the government primary school Amikam, 14 out of the expected 380 pupils were present, and 11 out of 15 teachers accompanied them in their classes. At the nursery section, 2 kids resumed today.
For now, we cannot really make a judgment, but at least they're excited to come back to school. Very, very excited. Because when they came in, they were so happy. They were jumping around and saying, we are back to school, we are back to school.
Echoes from some government secondary schools in Bamenda indicate that day one of school resumption ended with at least 1 student in school. Although the general turnout was low, most pupils and teachers abandoned their classrooms at the sight of our cameras. As the 2019-2020 school year unfolds, school administrators are hopeful the number will increase.
In the report coming up next, Stella Mbu, our correspondent in the Northwest region, takes a look at efforts made by some elite and other persons for the academic year, which started today, to be effective.
The clock is ticking, and from this Monday, September 2nd, the report card of efforts made in the course of the 3 months holidays to get pupils and students in schools will be evaluated. The efforts include those of elites, administrative authorities, and civil society activists. In Bamenda Central, Felix Mbayo, Minister Delegate at the Ministry of External Relations in charge of the Commonwealth, donated didactics to some 1,500 pupils and students while chairing activities to mark the end of his traditional back-to-school communion at his Old Town neighborhood.
You have all seen these innocent faces, these innocent children. There will come a time when we, the parents, will not be here anymore. It is our duty to give them a chance to have a life. We came here to work for these children to go back to school. We came here to distribute school supplies. We came here to remind ourselves that nothing at all can justify us stopping our innocent children from going to school. If we complain that things are not working well, it is only by going to school that you can make them better. If you complain that the system is not well governed, it is only by going to school that you can govern better. Where is our conscience?
In Santa, it was a football competition christened the Santa Peace and Unity Super Cup, organized by Son of the Soil, Dunfofru Jonathan, also aimed at getting the message of back to school understood by all.
Our children have to go to school. They've lost 3 years. They've given the opportunity to catch up and go back to school, because without education, their future is completely damaged. The Santa children know that.
These efforts are triggered by the 3 years long crisis, which has forced more than 200,000 pupils and students in the Northwest out of schools. In the past, students from other regions flooded the Northwest to tap from our education industry. This year, the reverse is true, that is, parents are relocating their children to other regions. According to statistics from education authorities of the region, at least 77 primary schools have either been burnt, looted or occupied by those the authorities call terrorists, while in the secondary education sector, at least 2,370,000 francs was not collected by meritorious students during the 2018-2019 academic year. With the rising insecurity, ghost towns, lockdowns and government's efforts, fingers are crossed. Eyes looking forward to see what back to school in the Northwest will look like this September 2nd for the 2019-2020 academic year.
And we're going to take you right now to other parts of the Northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. And for me, Armstrong Sander is going to be painting the picture of day one of the 2019-2020 academic year in other parts of the region far off from the Northwest regional capital, Bamenda.
Amid threats from campaigners of school boycott and traditional Monday ghost towns in the conflict-hit Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon, pupils and students in Kambe, chief town of the Donga Mountain Division, Northwest region of Cameroon, responded positive to school bells in the early hours of Monday, September 2nd. From the end of Tamal through Old Town, downtown to Binju, pupils and students in Kambe braved insecurity for knowledge. While on school on day one of Back to School 2019-2020, an August guest, the senior divisional officer for the Donga Mountain, Dr. Ndo Simon Quenti and his entourage came visiting with didactic materials, beginning with the Mother School, Government Bilingual High School Kambi, Government Technical High School Kambi, Government Francophone Practicing School, PHS Kambe, St. Rita's College, and many other schools within Kambe town, leaving students and pupils grateful.
We want to say that Donga Mountain did not observe the two schools or lockdowns as preached by some of our people who do not want the future of the children to be bright. So Donga Mountain in all its ramifications have embraced the back to school. Since morning, we have been moving from one institution to the other, giving the prices of the head of state, His Excellency Povia, to the early students and pupils who made it this morning.
Dr. Ndo Simon Quinty is also happy for the effective resumption of classes within his area of command. The optimism of the chief administrative officer that observers look keen to see it unfold successfully in parts of the Donga Mantung, like in Mwa subdivision, where some students and teachers were spotted at Government Technical High School Mwa, and in Messages subdivision, where pupils apparently answered present only at Islamic Bilingual Primary School Dumbu, with Ndu and Aku highly awaited. Still in the northwest region of Cameroon, neighboring Bui division to the Donga Mantung division rather presented a different picture, with schools reportedly closed in Kumbu, Jakiri, Tatumambiame. Reports said the school boycott in the Bui divisional chief town of Kumbu was largely caused by gun battles that rocked the town of Kumbu in the early hours of Monday, September 2nd, 2019.
And Honorable Njume Peter Abang has urged the inhabitants of the village of Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti Mbogogo village in the southwest region of the country to join the other Cameroonians by going to school. He was speaking in Ekondo Titi while handing over some material aid to the people from the Prime Minister. Derry Jato reports.
The elite of these lands are bent on seeing their children resume classes.
These children are innocent. If we are fighting for whatever, yes, let us fight for it. But we should not prevent these children from having their own rights of going to school. School is a good thing.
We are in Bongongo 1, a village of Ekondo Titi subdivision, home of the Cameroon Prime Minister and head of government. Chief Dr. Joseph John Gute is also the traditional ruler here, and today Honorable Njumbe Peter Abang, Member of Parliament for Ekondo Titi and Dikome Balwe subdivisions, is heading a team sent by the elites of these subdivisions to distribute school materials in order to enable an effective school resumption.
That is why we have come with this bulk of materials to assist the parents and to encourage the children to go back to school. And for me, I am very, very elated because I wasn't expecting this crowd.
The school meat distribution caravan started from Bongongo 1 village in the Ekondo Titi subdivision, the chiefdom of Cameroon Prime Minister and head of government.
We will send our children to school. No, there's no fear. We don't have any fear about it. We thank the Prime Minister, head of government, and we thank the delegation which has brought us this beautiful gift for the start of our children this academic year.
In their thousands, these pupils and students came out and received the schoolwork tools, thanking their fathers and mothers for fighting hard to secure their future. They say this school materials received is a strong motivational factor for them to go back to school.
I come from Bongongo and I feel good for the government to give us these things. I use it to go to school. I'm very happy.
I just want to say thank you, and also for the income, at least it will help us.
The team later left for Ekondo Titi main town, where the same distribution exercise took place, and also actively present was Mr. Abiola Timothy, the divisional officer for Ekondo Titi subdivision.
These materials, these consignments are from your elite, the effort from our father, the Prime Minister, head of government.
The 3 years now running crisis has eroded all facets of life here, and today, normalcy is the cry of everyone.
A return to normalcy, the cry of everyone. Thanks, Derek Jato. Here in the economic capital of Cameroon, Douala, in the political capital Yaoundé and other francophone parts of the country, back to school was very effective. In Ideya, in the Sanaga Maritime Division, students and pupils turn out in their numbers in the various school campuses to start this academic year. It was near 100% effective back to school in the town of Ideya. However, some parents are complaining over difficulties they are facing in their efforts to register their children in the different schools in the town of Ideya. And we talked to some teachers, students, and of course parents. Take a listen to some of them in this extract.
We started this morning by a general assembly where the principal was there. The majority of the students was present, and after around 7:30 we started with the classes. This is operatic science, and we are doing chemistry.
I started my lesson very good. The teachers, I appreciate them very well. They help us to better understand our lesson for the first day, so that for the rest of the academic year it can be better for us to understand and have our A level.
We're having difficulties because there are many people here, only one case. Since morning, I'm just from work and I passed the night in the hospital. I'm sitting here to pay my child's school fees. But up till now, there are many people in front of me and I don't know when I'll finish, and I'm already tired. At least if there are two or three cases, will be normal, will be easy for the parents.
That's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Thanks for staying with us in Talking Points. We are receiving a gender and child protection specialist. Sono Josephine works for the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services, and she is a gender-based violence activist and defender, and a child rights advocate with an ever-increasing passion in the promotion of children's rights and gender equality. You're welcome.
Thank you.
What do you think about the images that we just had on the back to school? Is it an indication that the rights of the child, which you are protecting as far as education is concerned, is very well respected in Cameroon or not?
Thank you very much, Jonathan, and thank you, fellow viewers. I would like to say that I am quite impressed to see that schools resumed today. But to feel so sorrowful or depressed, or let me say, I'm not very happy with the fact that there are other places in Cameroon where children have not been able to resume school for this academic year. And we are not very certain if they're going to resume in the days ahead or the year round. To say that the rights of children to education is a human right and is fundamental. It's a right that shouldn't be tampered with. It shouldn't be violated. It shouldn't be kept aside for no reasons whatever. Now we have the prevailing situation in Cameroon, which is hinging on the rights of children, especially children who live with disabilities, who cannot be able to afford education. We're saying that whatever the crisis, the worrying factor of factions should maybe sort out their differences and allow children to be able to access education, because that's the backbone for development, and children can only transition into adulthood by having their educational rights guaranteed and promoted and protected. So
education
it's actually
is
a concern,
right for the children. No exception.
Doesn't matter whatever the situation.
Shouldn't be tampered with.
Exactly.
And now the situation is quite disturbing, as you indicated. But besides that, there is another issue which is not only limited to the northwest and the southwest regions. It's true that in those two regions, because of the crisis, is more acute, but it's also a problem that is affecting schools in other parts of the country and even beyond. I'm talking about the rights of children that are being violated, children that have been abused within the academic milieu in schools and so on.
Thank you very much once again, Jonathan. To say that children experience different forms of violations or abuse. They experience a lot of physical abuse. The use of corporal punishment is being practiced in the school settings. You find the teacher uses a gas pipe, they use cables, they use whips, they use rulers and all of that. Some of them even go as far as using belts. It equally happens in the communities and in homes. We've had scenarios where a child's or two children's legs have been burnt with fire and with a machete, just because they were allegedly thieves of the battery of a Choronko phone, and having intervened in that kind of a case, the children ended up undergoing surgery, and CBC Health Services, through one of its disability programs, had to spend over 4 million to ensure that surgery was accorded the children in order to struggle to restore the feet of the children.
You're talking about corporal punishment.
Yes, that's just physical. And even in the school milieu, children experience what we call bullying. They experience a lot of other forms of violations, including sexual abuse and emotional. You know, in a classroom, a teacher calls a child good for nothing, you know, calls a child dull, morons, and all of those. It has a lot to play on the psyche of the child, and it has a lot to play on performance in education. Now, when you look at children who live with intellectual disabilities or impairments, or those ones who are slow learners, and now the teachers don't get to understand because they fail to do what we call disability equality talk at the start of the academic year to ensure that they understand who are the learners, what are their learning needs and learning styles. It now hinges on the fact that children cannot be able to access the curriculum in the same way like others or other learners who do not have impairments. So there is a need to ensure that there's accessibility both in the curricula, the teaching styles, to accommodate the environment to suit the different disabilities. If a child lives with mobility impairments and their walking aid is a crutch or is a cane, for those who cannot see, or is a wheelchair or a tricycle. Now the classroom is not accommodative enough
accessibility.
To take,
There's usually a problem of accessibility.
Exactly. And there are other institutions that you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 stories to be able to access your classroom, and you look at those children who live with all of these impairments.
It's
they cannot access
impossible
all of that.
for many of them.
Exactly.
And besides these issues that you're highlighting, there are other forms of violations of the rights of the child that have been growing up or becoming rampant in many schools. I'm talking about sexual abuse. I'm talking about issues like even homosexuality, lesbianism that have been observed in some schools around the country today. What's the situation?
Going by what we experience in our community, we get to understand that there are many of the children who experience, there are those ones who are homosexuals, but for the cases that I've managed, you actually get to see that there is the social media or there is a TV, you know, that has pushed these children to be able to see these practices and then engage in. Some have been peer pressured to get into all of that, while some are perpetrated by the teachers themselves. So this thing is actually something that should be managed. And for one of the government schools in 2016, we piloted a child safeguarding guideline for the government primary school group 1 in Gokintunja in the Central. And when we put in place this school safeguarding guidelines, you know, it transformed a lot of things, and then it improved on the performance of children both with disabilities and without. Because at the start of every academic year, the teachers get to create the awareness, tell the people or the learners, this is what you do in the case of an abuse. This is where you go to, this is the teacher you turn to report that this person is not treating you fairly, or they are making advances at you and all of that. And it improved a lot because there was peer learning, as the peers were able to accommodate those learners with disabilities as well and support them in the learning process. So we're saying that there's a lot of abuse that occurs in the school environment, and there are a lot of reasons why those are being perpetrated.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of ignorance, and in the context of our country, we do not have a child protection policy that is available to the public to be able to use. And so when we notice this gap, we try to pilot this guideline that can be replicated in other schools.
And the situation is a little more critical for students and pupils who are in the northwest and southwest regions because of the difficult socio-political climate. And of course, what should be done to help these students to avoid this trouble? You're going to be organizing a symposium on these issues in Yaoundé.
Yeah, come 25th of September, we're going to be organizing a symposium to present findings of a research we carried out from 2017 to 2019, where we are done with the results and it's available to be presented to the wider population. We have underscored a number of these abuses that we've seen, particularly with respect to children who live with maybe visual impairments. They cannot see, they cannot talk, they cannot hear, they cannot speak, they cannot move, or they cannot coordinate. So they live with different impairments. There are some who live with multiple disabilities. And so we've been able to underscore the factors that are propagating or are promoting the abuse of these children, be it in the home, in the community, in school, in the churches. And what are those factors that are promoting it, and what are the things that we can put in place to curb the prevalence of these abuses. So this research was the abuse of children with disabilities in Cameroon, from awareness to action. And so we will be presenting the findings in the days ahead. And we expect to see everyone who is an actor or a stakeholder protecting the rights of children, be you UNICEF, the government, especially MINAS, others stakeholders, the medical, the educational, family, the church, the local authorities, to put their hands on deck. We'll be looking at legal issues, we'll be looking at other issues, what the law provides, what the social worker should be doing, what the school should be doing, what the medic should be doing, what you as the journalist should be doing to ensure that the protection of children is upheld, and what parents who are the primary caretaker of the children. And all these
stakeholders are expected to register on your website.
Yeah, and you can get to the website on www.CBC Health Services. That's one word, CBC Health Services spelled out, health services spelled out.com. www.cbchealthservices.com.
We expect that solutions will come out of that symposium for children across the country, but more particularly for those in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Yeah. Thanks so much, Sono Josephine. You're a gender and child protection specialist for the Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.